Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on implementing Transparent Data Encryption, which is better known as TDE, on SQL Server. I'm going to show you three things in this video. I'm going to show you how to encrypt a database using TDE. I'm also going to show you how you can restore a database that has been encrypted on a different server that doesn't have the keys and certificates. And then I'm going to also show you how to remove encryption from a database. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing when you create a TDE database is you have to create a master key. Then you can create or obtain a certificate, and you protect that certificate using the master key. Then you create a database encryption key, and you protect it using the certificate. Then you finally encrypt your actual database. Okay, so I'm going to show you those steps now. So what we're going to do here is encrypt this database, the AdventureWorks 2017. So I'm running SQL Server 2017, but you can do this with other ones. So I'm going to create a query first to show you something. Okay, I'm going to create a little query here. You don't have to do this. This is just to show you some stuff that's going on so you get an understanding. So I'm going to select DB underscore name, database ID, and that column alias we'll call database. And then we will get the encryption state, and we get all that from a system view called sys.dm underscore database encryption keys. Okay, I'm just going to go execute that. And you can see nothing pops up right now because we don't have anything going. So I'm just going to keep this this query here, and I'll execute it every once in a while as I'm going through this process. Okay, so let's create a new query. Now here's the start of actually encrypting a database. So I'm going to alter. This is just to clear up things. Service, make sure my key gets forced to be created. Alter service, master key, force, regenerate. Spelt that correct? Okay. So now what you want to do is you got to use the master table, system table, because that's where the key will be created. And then you actually create your key. Your master key. Create master key encryption by password equal to, and then put a really strong password here, not something like I'm doing here. This is a simple password, but please do a really strong password, maybe up to 20 characters long. Any passwords you type in, so create a document, like a written on paper in a booklet or something that says your master key is, here's the password for the master key, so you have everything available. So I'm going to execute this now. Successful. Okay, now what you want to do is create the certificate. So I'm going to remove this and create a new one. So we've created the master key. Now I'm going to create a certificate. Obviously you can obtain a certificate, but I don't have a certificate server or anything, so I'm going to create one myself. So create certificate, my cert is what I'm going to call this one. With a subject, this is like a description of it. And we will call this one AW 2017 Encrypt, ENCRYPT cert. So I know this is my certificate, my encryption certificate for AdventureWorks 2017. That's just a little description. So if I ever ran a query, I could see that. Execute. Good. Now we're going to create the database encryption key. So I'm going to clear this query out of the way. And now this is created in the database you want to encrypt. So we're doing AdventureWorks 2017, and then we're going to create a database encryption key, and which algorithm you want to use to encrypt this. Algorithm is equal to AES. We're going to use the 256 one, okay? And we're going to get encryption by the server certificate. So we're going to protect it using this certificate, encryption by server certificate, the one we just created called mycert. Go. Execute. Okay, at this point, complete it, but you do get a warning. All this warning is saying is right here. Back up your keys and certificates and everything. We're going to do that because you have to make sure that's backed up, because you can't restore anything if, say, if this server crashes. You have a backup, so you go to restore it. That's useless to restore if you don't have the certificates or anything like that. Okay? So we're going to do that, but I'm not doing it at this step. Okay? I want to see something now. So we've created the certificates and the keys. I just want to go over to this, back to this query that I had executed earlier. I'm going to execute it again. And now you see something pops up. And it says that the AdventureWorks 2017 database, and it has this encryption state. Now it has a number. This number 1 means unencrypted. It means we have not encrypted this database yet. So if you had a 0, if I'd done it this step before, it would say no database encryption key present before I did this statement. This would have been a 0 right here for the AdventureWorks, which means no database encryption key present. Now that it's a 1, I've got everything set up ready to encrypt, but it says it's unencrypted. Okay? So let's go back to this query. We're done this creating the database encryption key. Now what we want to do is actually encrypt the database. Now to encrypt the database, you can't have any connections. So I'm just going to run any connections on the database you're going to encrypt. So right now I have a connection to that. So I'm going to just go use master just to get out of that database. So now there's no connection on that database. Now I can alter that database to enable encryption. Alter database. I'm going to drag and drop the name. I don't feel like typing. So alter database, AdventureWorks. Let's set the encryption on. Set encryption on. And the reason this is squiggly, you have to put it in capital letters. I don't know why, but you do. Anyways, execute. And now it's encrypted. Now if I go back to this statement and run it, notice now I've got a 3 and a 2. Okay, when you encrypt a database, a number of things do get encrypted with it. Obviously the database is going to be encrypted, and your temp DB has got to be encrypted. Your log file will get encrypted, and even all your backups will be encrypted from now on. Okay, so a 3 means it's encrypted, and a 2 means it's in progress. It's in the process of being encrypted. So since I turned the encryption on and then quickly ran this query, it didn't have time, because the database has a lot of data in it, it didn't have time to finish the encryption. So it's a 2. But if I run it now, it should be done by now, and that should change to a 3. There, it's a 3 now, which shows you that it's now fully encrypted. Now, obviously, if you have a big database, maybe like a terabyte in size, it would still probably be a 2. So, you know, the more data is going to take a few minutes to encrypt, okay? So this is just the AdventureWorks database, so it went pretty fast, but you could see that's it. So 1 means unencrypted, 2 means the encryption is in progress, and 3 means it's done, it's encrypted, okay? So that's what we want, a 3. So it's actually shows us that that database now is encrypted. And like I said, the tempDB will be encrypted, your log file will be encrypted, and the backups will be encrypted. Now, before you go anywhere else, you must now back up your certificates and keys that you did. So I'm going to go back to here and create a new query now to back up my certificates and keys. So you use the master system database, and we're going to back up the certificate called mycert. That's the one we just created, and we're going to save it to a file. And make sure you take a copy of these files and store them somewhere really good. I have a directory called, I don't like that, ctemp /backup, okay? And I'll call the file cert, I'll call it mycert, sorry, mycert, okay? And the quote, and then we're doing that with the private key that we created with private key file, same place I'm going to store it, /temp /backup, and we will call this one my _cert key, _cert key .pvk for the private key, and my quote, oops, put a comma, and then put encryption by password is equal to, and then here put a new password. This has nothing to do with the other password. This is the password to get access to this. Let's see what I'll call this. I'll call this one access 111. Again, make this a strong password, okay? I forgot my quote, end quote, and go. So now I'm going to back up my certificate and my private keys that I created there, okay? So that's done. So make sure you do that at some point before you continue anything, because you need that to recover if you ever need to. So I'm going to C drive, temp, backup, and you can see there's what I've backed up there, my certificate and my keys, okay? So that's done. Now, let's do an actual backup of this database now, okay? Let's back it up. Right mouse click, task, backup. Sorry, I'm using the GUI here. Okay, so we want a full backup. That's not where I want to put it. I'll remove that. Give a new directory, ctemp backup, and let's call it AW back. AW back? Yeah, that's good enough. AW back. Media options. Let's append. Let's overwrite, just in case it exists. It doesn't. But executing. The backup has been completed successfully. So now in that directory, I should also have a backup of my database. Right there, AW back is the actual database. Okay, so now let's assume a hacker or somebody got a copy of your database, and I'm going to use the backup. Okay, so we're going to use the backup and try to restore that. Okay, and it works the same if someone just copied your MDF file and took it over to another computer also. Okay, so I'm going to open up another server. This is server 2, and you'll notice here I have no user databases. So I'm going to try to restore that database as if someone got a copy of it, took it home or something, or downloaded it or whatever. They've got a copy and they're going to try to restore it to their server and see what data is in there. So I'm going to go right mouse click, restore, device, where is it, locate it. Well, it's I'm on a network, so server 1 / backup. I go there. Where's my backup file? Hold on. Okay, I just had to look back at the thing. That's where it is. What's going on here? Server 1 backup. Oh, I know what's wrong. I gotta put a B8. Add. I didn't have a BAK extension, so I just added a BAK extension. BAK, go OK. So it's been restored, and it says, or it didn't restore, it said restore failed. Okay, let's see here. If we go to the details, do we get some more information? It's not too much information right here. It says cannot find server certificate. It means it's been there's no certificate to go with that, so it's been encrypted and you don't have the proper certificates and keys to open it, so no one can actually get into that database. So I can't even restore it. Okay, so it worked. So let's try something here. Let's say creating the database. Let's see, what can we do here? So even if you tried creating a new database master key and a new certificate on this server with the exact same name and even the same subject that was used to back up the original database, because it's actually a new certificate and it wasn't the certificate that was used to back up the database, you would still not be able to do this. So now let's try to see if someone recovered just the certificate but not the private keys. Can you do anything? Let's go new query here. And now let's just try restoring just the certificates. Okay, create certificate, we'll call it TDE this time, cert from file equal to server 1 / backup / my cert. That was the certificate that we backed up. We execute, and it's successful. Now let's try to restore the database, because we now have restored the certificate onto this server. So let's try restoring now and see what happens. Restore. Server 1 / backup. Let's try restoring that and see what happens. Okay, and we still get an error. Okay, failed. Let's see what the error says this time. And it says a key is required by this operation, appears to be corrupted. So it's trying to say that our private key has been corrupted, or our database key has been corrupted. Well, we know it's not corrupted because we actually don't have it installed. So again, even with the actual real certificate, we can't do a restore. So we've got the certificate, but we don't have the key, so we're still getting the error. So to actually do a successful restore, we need the database master key in the master database in place, and we'll need to restore the certificate used to encrypt the database, but we'll need to make sure we restore it with a private key. Okay, so let's do everything proper now. So basically what we have to do to perform a successful restore, like I said, we need the database master key in the master database. We have to get that in there, and we'll need to restore the certificate used to encrypt the database, but we'll also need to make sure we restore it with the private key. So in a proper checklist form, you have to put a database master key in the master database. The certificate used to encrypt the database is then restored along with its private key. Then you can restore the database. So let's do this in the proper sequence. So first I have to get rid of this certificate I just created to do it properly now. So let's use the master and do things in order. Oops. Go, I'll drop this certificate. That one was called TDE cert. I can execute that. That gets rid of that certificate. Now, here's the proper sequence. Let me clear this. To do a proper thing, we're going to alter the service master key again. So I'm going to force my regeneration just to make sure. Regenerate. Okay, I like to put that first all the time. So now what we're going to do is use master. We're going to go, and then we're going to create master key encryption by password equal to, let's call this second server. Let's see if it'll accept that password. Go. Okay, I can do that. Good. Next thing I want to do is create my certificate. So I'm going to create certificate. I'll call this one TDE cert. And I'm going to get that from the file from my backup, which is on server 1 backup directory. And that one was called my cert. Server 1, backup my cert with the private key. So with private key. And which one was it? It was file equal to server 1 backslash backup backslash, I think I called it my cert key dot pvk, I believe it was called. Let me put this on a different line just so you can see. Otherwise I'm scrolling off. With private key cert private key bracket. No, sorry, where am I here? Private key, no, not bracket yet, comma. I want decryption by password equal to, what was that? I think I called it access 1, 2, 3, like that. I think that was the password I had applied. I forgot. See, I didn't write it down. Because you imagine if you tried to come back in a year or two. Let's execute that and see. Already enough permissions for it. Server, oh, wrong. Server 1. It's on a domain. So execute server 1, complete it successfully. So don't forget this password. That's that password you used. Okay, so now we've got that. So now let's try restoring our database. Now I can go restore, restore. Sorry, sometimes I get lost with the GUI instead of doing it all at the command line. Server 1, backup, AW backup. Let's go OK, and let's go OK, and that looks good. It's going, and the database has been restored successfully. So now I have my database here, and we'll see if the data is actually in there. Let's go to the address table, right mouse click, select top 1,000 rows, and see if we see any data. Yep, it's all there. So that worked. So we've restored our database. So you have to do it in that order I showed you. Okay, you just follow that thing. Okay. Now let's show you how you remove encryption from a database. Okay, so that we can do everything. So let's say I want to now whoops, I closed. What did I do here? Where am I here? Server 2. Okay, so let's go back to the original one. Let me just jump back to the original one and remove the encryption from this one now. So remember this query here, if I execute here, it's in encryption state. I'm going to remove the encryption. So I'm going to go and create a new query to start removing the encryption. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn the encryption off. Alter database. Let me get the cursor out of the way. Alter database. AdventureWorks. Whoops. Set encryption off. Go execute it. Successful. Let's go back to this and run this query. Now you can see it's 1. 1 means it's not encrypted. So the encryption has been gone. But why don't we get rid of all the keys and certificates also? Okay. So now that we've taken the encryption off, now I can actually get rid of all of the keys and certificates. So first we get rid of the database encryption key. So use AdventureWorks and drop database encryption key. Okay, execute. Good. Next thing you want to do is drop the certificate. Use master. Get the cursor out of the way for you guys. And then we're going to drop the certificate. Drop certificate, and that one was called my cert. Execute. Done. Now we drop the master key. I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, use master again. Go. Drop master key. Execute. Dropped. If I go back to this query now, execute, you can see it's completely gone. Now you see the tempDB still shows an encrypted state, and it will stay like that until you reboot your server. Okay. The reason for that is data is still vulnerable for someone to read it. So when the tempDB gets recreated after you do a server reboot. So once you do a server reboot, this will disappear on us, okay? So it's not actually encrypted anymore. The existing data is encrypted. Any new data won't be encrypted in there anymore, okay? So if you start working again with your databases, everything will work just fine. All the new stuff won't be encrypted, but the new old stuff is. But you'll reboot it, and it will disappear on you anyways. And that's it, guys. So now you know how to encrypt using TDE. You know how to restore encrypted database, and you know how to remove all your encryption parts off of your server. Okay, hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on like. If you want to be notified of new videos, hit the bell icon. And as always, I appreciate you to subscribe to the channel. All right, have a good day. Take care.